This video is going to talk about the directing process, but most specifically the implementation period of the directing process. And we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about this. So the implementation period is really, it's the point where what we think of as rehearsals and putting on a play really starts. So first, within this period, we are assembling the complete artistic team. This is the point where the director starts to have meetings. And these are meetings with the dramaturg, the stage manager, the designers, the casting director. We start to meet actors, chief technicians, get to know the theater and how the theater, because each theater house has its own way of operating, so the director starts to get to know that. The director becomes the active head of the artistic team and now bears the responsibility of sharing with the team the production concept. This production concept will give everybody's work a sense of focus. And I'm going to give you an example of a production concept that you can take a look at. The director at this point is really like a chief executive. So the director is setting goals, establishing priorities, facilitating communication, maintaining the schedule, really keeping their thumb on how progress is going, and starts to heighten the stakes. Okay, this is going to be really important. This is important because this. The director builds team morale, inspires excellence. All of these things, the director is really driving the ship. The director gets to select the designers, and you're choosing designers with whom you feel compatible and with whom you have mutual respect. I direct pretty frequently, and my favorite designers are designers that we have a conversation and they take what I say and they do something that I never imagined with what I said, but it's completely in line. It's like they took it and it's amazing. So I love working with incredible designers, and I have a number of designers who I enjoy working with. And it is a collaboration. It's the first step. The director starts to meet with the designers before the director even holds auditions. So it's really the first step towards transforming this idea into something that's really going to happen. Most frequently, the director doesn't tell the designer exactly what to do. You're going to use red, it's going to be on the right wall, and then the left wall is green. Like that doesn't happen. In general, it's a little bit more indirect. So we're thinking this feeling of broken glass and danger. All right, so that's really indirect. It's suggestive, but it gives some really specific things for those designers to react to. General goals, and directors and designers have these goals. They want an actable space, they want wearable costumes, and they want a clear understanding of vision. However, sometimes these don't really line up based on personal value system. Like, it might be more important to the costume designer that a costume look a specific way that is really cool. And the director may be willing to sacrifice some of that look in order for the actor to be able to touch their toes. So like the actor's movement ability versus the look of the costume. What is the sense of this murky light versus, man, I really need to see this guy's face. And so there's always the pros and cons. How do we really continue to tell the story and yet respect all of this incredible work these designers are doing? So the first step is there's a production meeting, and the director discusses concepts and possibilities. On the subsequent meetings, the designers actually are bringing a lot more work because the designers start to present ideas and sketches and samples. And then at this point, the director starts to approve. Ooh, I really love this, but what if you did this? Suggest, and sometimes reject. This would be great for another show, but this isn't quite the direction I want to go. And so those kinds of things. Now, once we start having production meetings with the designers, it's time to start casting the actors. Now, when we're casting the actors, there is an old saying that says casting is 90% of directing. Casting is huge. Labor, ideology, pragmatism, gut reactions, impulse, these are all things that go into casting. And directors are looking for a lot of things. Sometimes you're looking for what is the look? Like, do I need Joe to be shorter than Susie? Do they look like they could be a family? What is my personal definition of what a family looks like? Some of this starts to be arbitrary, right? Or what does the script say they need to look like? I mean, do people frequently reference Matilda's jet black hair? Well, I need an actress who can pull off jet black hair, right? But also, some of it is who does the director think they can work with? Who will respond to them? Who will play with them? Who understands what they're saying? And sometimes you're looking for people, and you just want the person, right? Actors are people, and they are idiosyncratic. They have their own physicalities and vocal qualities. Sometimes you hear somebody's vocal quality, and you go, "Ooh, that voice is what this character needs to sound like." Yes. So auditions consist of monologues, which is the actor stands and delivers a 1-minute speech in a character role. And then from those monologues, which really just show that the actor can stand up and say words and find some level of emotional arc, and memorize text, those kinds of things. And then you do callbacks. And callbacks are really where you start to pair people together. Oh, okay, so what do Susie and Bob look like together? What do Joe and Robert look like together? How do these do they tell the story, the visual story that I need these characters to tell? So once we have cast the show, we start to go into rehearsals. Rehearsals in a traditional process, rehearsals are going to be, you're going to get about 5 weeks of regular rehearsals, up to 40 hours a week if you are in a regional theater on an equity contract, but sometimes much less than that. And one of those weeks will include a tech week, which is a really intense, we pay less attention to the actors, but now we're implementing all of those design elements and we're putting it all together. But the first couple rehearsals, or the first couple weeks of rehearsal, the production begins to take emotional, physical, and dramatic shape. So the actors start to read the play aloud. They start to memorize their lines. They start to learn where they're walking and how it feels to walk into the place. It starts to be practiced. In the beginning rehearsals, we have stand-in props, costumes, and set. Sometimes that involves, there is tape on the ground. Eventually there will be a step here. And so through tape and through these stand-in props, the actors start to work through their blocking and where they're going to stand and how it feels to be in the space. Once we get into Tech Week, we start to have the real step, the real props. We add the costumes in, and all of this happens later in the process. Oftentimes, the set and the costumes are built during this rehearsal period, so they're just not accessible. And during this entire process, the director maintains leadership and creative inspiration. One of the things the director is responsible for is staging. So staging is the position on the set of the actors, how they walk from one place to another, when they do it. And we're really starting to look at directorial compositions. It's the basic structure is called blocking, but we're looking at actors in space and time. So the space is the acting area, the setting. Time, it's the duration of a theatrical event. So the duration, the amount of time it takes Susie to cross from stage right to stage left. Does she do it quickly? Does she take a long time doing it? But we're focusing on the play's themes. We're trying to lend credibility to the characters, generate interest, stimulate engagement. And that is really what we're doing. And in the next video, we will talk about the implementation period, actor